Hello, I'm Christopher Herring. I'm a past board member of the West San Antonio Chamber, and I'm here at the West San Antonio Chamber of Commerce at Port San Antonio with your president and CEO, Kristi Villanueva. Now, look, we did a role reversal today because when I talked to her, and I am the executive director of Global Chamber San Antonio, we talk about collaborating and we talk about the business that we're in. And I just know that Kristi is doing some remarkable things in our community. In fact, she's also a board of trustees for VIA. Mm-hmm. And so VIA Metropolitan Transit has a huge mission. And so I was reading when we went into our last census, San Antonio was the fastest rising city in terms of population growth. Right. And so with that being said, I know that transportation is going to be so important. Now, recently, you just came back from Vancouver, Canada.
Yes.
And took part in a global conversation about transportation. So first, tell your audience, because you never talk about yourself to your own chamber, but tell them about your experience with the VIA board, because I think that's really important just to set the tone. How do you like being on the VIA board?
Well, I'm really enjoying being on the VIA board, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know. I used to be in transportation as a staffer many years ago in my late 20s, early 30s in Corpus Christi, Texas. I was a director of marketing for the RTA. Great start. It gave me a greater appreciation for public transit, even though I took it. I've taken public transit since I was a teenager. Okay. Actually in junior high. But this appointment gave me a greater appreciation for the need and how interesting it is that many of our South Texas cities are so behind when it comes to public transit.
Wow.
But they rely on us as citizens, as taxpayers, to keep that going. And some may or may not agree with that, and others think that public transit should be free. There's a lot that goes into it. A whole lot.
Well, you know, as you're sitting on the board and so forth, and you're also leading, I would say you're the front runner chamber right now. I mean, the quality of programming which West San Antonio Chamber is doing is really great. I mean, you have the top leaders across the sectors that really matter the most, whether it's energy, water, transportation. So the only one I told you not to use is international, because that's global chambers. But I did want to ask you, and we were talking about, you know, how does our city really think seriously about this population growth that, you know, we're used to maybe the traffic patterns, how they are right now, but, you know, our city is supposed to double by like 2040. And so what do you see as a chamber leader and as a VIA board member that would make you think that we need to do some things differently? And tell us too about your conference that you went to.
Okay. So before I went to the conference, of course, I had a lot of opinions about housing development. You know, I live on the east side, so there's a lot of things I'd like to see that things should be developed a particular way. But I had some concerns, and while I'm not, obviously there's so many committees I'm not on, and I don't know all the details, I try to stay up on the issues. It's very concerning, all these wonderful and beautiful buildings that are going up, but they don't really accommodate you and me.
Right. The
price range is so outrageous, and we're really accommodating for those folks that are coming in from out of state. And it's great to have new talent. I am all for that. But what I learned, how this ties to this particular conference, which, by the way, I wasn't even going to go, because it's called Railvolution.
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 Very nice.
And I figured,
well, we need rail.
We need rail, but that's a whole other issue, and we could probably get into a long, tedious debate about that. But this actually dealt with transportation and how that plays into housing and the workforce development that we have, that we're surrounded by. Right. It also measured, a lot of folks came to this conference that already have papers that they've done with different universities in British Columbia, in the United States, elected officials, and they're talking about, look, if the median income of the folks here are about 45 to 50,000, let's say 45, but we're building buildings that the purchase price starts at $1 million.
Right.
How does that make sense? So to take it a little further, I actually went out into the city and jumped on the bus and started talking to the bus operators, started talking to the folks that were traveling on the bus.
In Vancouver.
Yeah, in Vancouver.
Oh. Hey?
So I just explored the city. I went into different shops, and some of you could probably see my photos. I met this person that mines jade, but he's a small business owner. I met the couple that runs an electric boat, or a fleet of boats that travels around the harbor for a tour. Their challenge today, those folks that work for them may only make $25,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
Same thing here. In San Antonio. Very, very similar. They, in 2002, they mentioned, had this influx of people moving to Vancouver, and it hasn't stopped since. So developers immediately sprang into action and said, hey, that's a great opportunity. Okay, but as they move forward to build those buildings, no one worked on kind of the rules of the game.
Okay.
No one, not the mayor, not council, not British Parliament, no one set a cap on the rent. So it just rose every year to astronomical measures. And this started to become my concern in just a period of 3 days that I was there. Everything they were talking about was a reflection of where San Antonio is today.
Okay.
So that is where I hope that I can partner with my colleagues like you and with others to figure out what we need to do. They've got the research done. They have the white papers. Whatever it is that we're looking for, they're willing to share that information. So we can provide a better life for those folks that are at that median income here in San Antonio. Because that's our workforce. That's the hospitality industry. That's the construction industry. That's so many other industries that hit us.
Right.
And if we lose them and they have to move to the outskirts of the city, guess what? Public transit isn't there. Many of them don't have reliable vehicles. And these are good, solid families and individuals that are just trying to work.
Yeah, and when we talk about gentrification and how gentrification also is a major driver behind the growth of cities like San Antonio and certain areas where, as you know, have been underdeveloped. The transportation question is a major question.
Yes.
We did talk briefly about this Austin, San Antonio lack of having a rail.
Yes.
But I personally believe that we need to have one. But did you see anything that gave you evidence that rail? Do they have rail in Vancouver?
They do. They have rail and they have a SkyTrain. So the SkyTrain runs within the city.
Is that like Disneyland when they have the...
It actually looks something like it.
Okay. All right.
So it just it's a track that floats over the highway. They've actually passed an ordinance where they're not going to build highways within the downtown area.
Oh, wow.
They purposely keep that out because they want to be the greenest city by 2020. And they're probably going to achieve that. They've got so many things in place today that make them a more powerful but very expensive city. Now, I do not, at least from what I know today, I don't link how expensive it is to sustainability. That's separate, and that's another story.
Okay.
The sustainability is not what made them the most expensive city. It's really their housing.
Oh.
Now, but the rail, so you can travel between cities. There's a lot of potential. This is something that we really do need between Austin, New Braunfels, San Antonio,
Right.
and then all the way south. So a lot of our companies are moving across the border, or they have additional offices in Mexico, and they're traveling back and forth.
Well, in our recent headlines, I saw where Houston and Dallas, the whole transit discussion is moving much quicker there. I guess they had a study that was approved.
Yes.
So we may see some groundbreaking on that.
Actually, we're losing we're not losing the company, but the majority of the staff for, I believe it's Clark Construction,
Okay.
they're bidding on the rail
Okay, good.
for Houston, Dallas. So I'm hoping that they can bring back those lessons learned to
Right,
us.
absolutely, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to move our city forward.
Yes.
Is to make sure that we benchmark and we're able to apply those lessons learned.
Absolutely.
Well, we just wanted to take this brief moment just to plug you in terms of some of the bigger issues of San Antonio. Transportation, your chamber leader is on it, and the good thing is that she has a real good mechanism to get the message out. This is a real great broadcast that you're doing, and I'll let you take it back since she felt very uncomfortable not being in control of this live broadcast today. I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah.
And you're reading an ebook?
Oh, yeah. So, well, I do a lot of audiobooks because I am short on time, and most of you know I'm usually running from one event to another, and then with the staff, we're always on the go. But I have to say, we are all forever learners, and so it's really important that we keep reading. So I picked up a book that was written by this wonderful woman, Jay Pitter, and I met her at Railvolution.
Okay.
I wasn't sure at first what to make of it. I actually picked up the book and put it down and walked away from it, and then I heard her speak. And it was really all the things that we are trying to put together. The transportation, the people development, the business, the small business growth.
Okay.
She put that all together with her co-author. So it's called Subdivided.
Okay, Subdivided.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that on Facebook. And I mean, please pick up that book. She's a wonderful and very sincere woman. I also met one of the secretaries of Parliament. Bowen Ma is her name. And she's on my Twitter feed, her and the mayor of Vancouver and a few other people. We had a nice little conversation, but it was just so powerful and amazing how many things that we need to bring here to San Antonio to make this a better city and to cut down that, what would you call it, Chris?
Well, it's really to apply some of the lessons that other cities have learned. I mean, we're a top international city, and they are too.
Yes.
And so I think now is the right time to have people like you, younger leaders who are out there trying to find fresh and innovative ways so we can improve our own city of San Antonio. So.
Absolutely. And in case anyone's interested, we do have a united board there at VIA. Today, this is one of the best boards that I've seen. And we are very like-minded, and we are very focused on the development of our city.
Yeah.
So we want, for people to hear us, and we want people to join in. I always encourage people, you need to attend the VIA board meetings and come in and comment. We want to hear what you have to say.
Citizens to be heard.
Yes, the citizens to be heard for VIA. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, that is our work session. There is a time when we accept public comment there, but then the board meeting is next Tuesday, so that will start at 5 o'clock, just in case you'd like to know, and I can post that onto Facebook also. But anyway, I mean, please ask us anything. We're always available. Veronica, Yvonne, myself, we're always available to answer any questions, to have you come and sit with us. You are welcome to come into this chamber office. And I offer that to my colleagues also. We are willing to partner, just as Chris mentioned. Anything we help the Global Chamber, they help us. We've helped other organizations. So we are open to those opportunities. But we will have another chamber pop-up very, very soon, next Monday, actually. So we'll post that information and who our guest is, actually by the end of the week. So we hope that you'll join us at 9:15 next Monday. And thanks, Chris, so much for coming by and surprising me. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having us. And Global Chamber's reach, you can see it at globalchamber.org. It's 525 metropolitan locations across the world. And we're just striving to make San Antonio international place that businesses want to come, or that we're able to take our businesses and take them to the world.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday at 9:15 a.m. Have a great week.